Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program 2, where last episode, at long last, we landed on the surface of Duna, and we had just enough fuel to pull it off. About 12 tons extra was what we calculated, I believe. But we do have some more science that needs to be done here. We need to EVA, and we're just going to have Jeb let go here. He should be able to return here with his thruster pack. So we'll just, what are you doing, Jeb? You just kind of wedged in here? Sure. Okay, so he's just going to come on down here, and he is going to run some experiments. Which experiment is he running right now? That's the surface survey status? Sure. We're not going to go out of our way to try to have too much else. We've got 30 meters per second of orbital velocity. Interesting. That must be due to the rotation of the planet. We'll run our crew observation. I don't expect that to actually work, but that's fine. Okay, so once that is completed, which will be momentarily, there we go. Yeah, already in storage. That's expected. Now we want to go back in. It's kind of a barely thing, but we should be able to... Ooh, hang on. Okay. Are we actually attached to anything here? I don't think so. I think we're just kind of hovering. Okay, that's exciting. Let's try that again. I'm going to go down. We're going to jump again. We just lack the momentum right now to make our way up. So upward we go. And let's try angling this slightly differently. Okay. Something a bit more like this. Ooh, we're not quite there. Oh, grab. Okay, we got it. Beautiful. So we're going to hop in. That's fine. We got new research reports. That should be all of the research that we have available here. And I think we're ready to head back. But before we do, let's hop into mission control and make sure that there's not anything else that we want to do here. I don't think there is. So the Kerb-wide tour, yeah, that's something that we'll need to do. That'll definitely be interesting. That should be fairly easy to do. This is going to be complicated. We'll get there. Sample report of the strange creature on Lathe. Yeah, we're going to do that. And radiation observation on Pull. That should be pretty easy to do. We'll just have to make sure that we land in the lowlands. And then planting a flag on the Eye of Dress. That should be pretty easy to do too. And then this is enter Elu's sphere of influence. Yeah, that'll be easy to do as well. Okay, so that's not too bad. We now know for a fact that we are done on Duna. So let's just hop right on back over to Duna. And we'll just... this will need to be cleared out eventually. But we're just going to fly here, and we are ready to head home. So at this point, we want to achieve orbit of Duna. So that'll be fine. I do want to note, however, that we're going to want to change around our staging. Just a little bit. Something more akin to this. In theory, though, it would be this. This is claiming that we're down to 3267 from 4,000 some. This is claiming we're at 4,755. I'm guessing this is because some of this DV is in this stage as of right now. So that's reasonably fine. I say that we lift off and we go for Duna orbit here. So we're just going to lift directly off. We're going to turn SAS on. We're going to go to up for the time being. Let's retract our landing legs. Excellent. And we'll just keep an eye on this apoapsis. Once it hits somewhere around like 20K, then we're going to start our gravity turn, I think. Actually, maybe a little earlier than that. We'll see. For now, I just want to rotate us over to about here or so. Yeah, maybe we'll go for like 10K. This is Duna we're talking about. So let's just start heading on over here. And we're just going to position ourselves for now at about that 45-degree marker. And let's put ourselves in lock mode. There we go. Cool. And we're just going to sit here for the time being. About 22 kilometers, 23 kilometers. I want to go into orbital mode here, and we're just going to burn right at the horizon as of right now. I want as much horizontal speed as we can get. Fantastic. We may want to retract our solar panels just in case. I'm going to do that. And we'll put them back out once we are in a proper orbit here. Which we're going to be targeting an orbit of like 70 kilometers probably. Yeah, somewhere around there is what I'm thinking. I have no idea what our transfer window is looking like back to Kerbin. That'll be interesting. But I mean, Jeb is no stranger to long waits, so that should be absolutely fine. Cool. Keeping an eye on our fuel amounts, we've got a decent amount here still. 34 kilometer apoapsis, and our periapsis has quite some way to go. We do have a little bit of an oscillation that we've picked up. I'm working on it. I guess this'll do. I think we're probably just over-gimbaled. Now, we do see some heating up here, so we're just going to continue to burn to about 70 kilometers. There we go. We may lose this docking port on ascent. I'm going to try to angle us slightly differently here to try to protect that docking port. There we go. Okay. Heat gauge is gone. We are still going up right now, so I'm bringing us back over to prograde because we are losing altitude due to that maneuver, but that did save our docking port. So that sounds good. However, our electric charge is a little bit sus right now, so that is definitely concerning. But now that we're higher up in the atmosphere, we shouldn't have a problem with that. Let's get ourselves a little bit of speed. There we go. And I'm going to re-extend, not our landing gear, hang on, I'm going to re-extend our solar panels. Because we do want to have some source of electric charge. It's going to be 7 minutes to the apoapsis. So that's fine. We're going to look to achieve orbit once we get there. And that is, of course, going to look something along the lines of this or so. That should be reasonably fine. 104 meters per second to get into orbit. Not too bad. Now it's 105. It's going to go up a little bit due to atmospheric drag as we go up through this upper atmosphere, but it should be fine. So that all looks reasonable. Let's go on to 4x time warp. We are losing electric charge slowly right now. That is due to our attitude. We're not perfectly situated to catch the sun on our solar panels. That's okay. I'm not too concerned about that as long as we make it into space, which is going to happen here no matter what, right? We're going to exit the Duna atmosphere, and that's fine. So we have about 6 minutes until this burn, which is actually like 2 seconds after the apoapsis. It doesn't really matter. It's fine. So that looks okay. We're at about 44 kilometers right now. Keep in mind, the boundary between space and atmosphere on Duna is 50 kilometers. So we're almost out of here. And really, we want sea level altitude for that. 49 kilometers, and we're now out of the atmosphere. Fantastic. So let's warp on over to this... Hang on. Stop it. Stop it. We're not in attitude for the burn. Let's head on over to that attitude. That'll actually put us into a better position for our solar panels as well. So that looks solid. And now we'll warp. And our electric charge will go up fairly substantially. That looks solid. So we're now about 20 seconds until this burn. We can warp forward a little further. 10 seconds. And 4, 3, I'm burning now. Now is at the apoapsis. Technically, I should have burned slightly before then. Like 16 seconds before the apoapsis. But that's okay. We're going to call this good. That is putting us into a circularized orbit. Excellent. So from here, we need to ensure that we have enough fuel to get home, which I think we do. The real question is, how is our transfer window looking? Right? So well, we have no idea. The Pashkonix isn't going to tell us, I think. Let's hop on over this way real quick and set Kerbin as our target. So with Kerbin set as our target, we're now going to look to escape Duna by burning, in theory, if we can go to Duna proper, in theory, we're going to look to burn sometime around here. I believe. Is it the other side? No, this is correct. This is bringing us down. And the question is, what's this transfer window going to look like? Yeah, it's not a great transfer window, so that's not surprising. Although the patch conics is actually showing us this, which is surprising, but it wouldn't if we got an Ike encounter, I guess. But let's just put ourselves about halfway between the orbit of the two, something like this, into a slightly elliptical orbit, and that'll be fine. 493 meters per second is not bad here. Let's just align to that burn. And then we'll warp forward. We'll have to complete almost a full orbit, but that's okay. We'll be burning for about 2 minutes and 29 seconds, huh? For 493 meters per second? Are you sure about that? Our thrust to weight at this point should be like 4 or 5? Maybe. Maybe that's accurate. It feels like it shouldn't be quite this long of a burn, though. Because, yeah, our thrust to weight should be quite high at this point. Regardless, it doesn't really matter. We should have more than enough fuel to do this, in theory. So we'll position ourselves here. And that is going to be in about 45 seconds. Even if we don't have enough fuel, we can just send a hydrogen tank and nuclear engine out to meet this. And that won't be a big deal. So we are commencing this burn. This is going up quite quickly. But I guess it's 500 meters per second. Yeah, this is probably reasonably... Is it reasonably accurate timing? I don't think it is. We're halfway through this burn. This timing is definitely inaccurate. Okay. Well, that is certainly noted. We're just going to continue this burn here, putting ourselves right about here. And we end the burn 2 minutes before the projection. Okay, whatever. That seems fine, I guess. So we're going to be out over here at this point. And if we went to the periapsis and we did a retrograde burn here, bringing us down like so. We've got a 0.6 degree inclination. I just want to see what this is going to look like timing-wise. Okay, it's not great. So we're not going to end up doing that. Instead, our ascending node is up over here. Okay, that's mildly awkward. I think our ascending node and descending node are visually bugged. We're going to want to warp to exit the Duna sphere of influence so that this is no longer a thing. So we'll warp to here. Goodbye, Duna. It was a pleasure using you for aerobraking 37 million times. That, was definitely a thing that happened. So we've nearly burned off these side tanks at this point, and we'll be reliant entirely on this tank. So that's noted. We're going to keep an eye on that. But now that we are out of the Duna sphere of influence, we should have our ascending and descending node updated. Yeah, right up over here. So the ascending node is going to be going this way. Something along the lines of this. So like 75 meters per second. That's not so bad. We'll align for that. That will, of course, eat up our electric charge, which is understood. Our electric charge issues are almost dealt with. The question is, do we still have 75 meters per second in these side tanks? We'll find out. We're going to be warping forward right about now, about 8 days. And then we'll get that inclination change. 20 more minutes. Oh, okay. That's going to be a while. Let's continue to warp that down. So about 10 more minutes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, taking it down to 10x. And 40 seconds. 30, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, mark. Excellent. Looks like we do have enough in the side tanks for the inclination change. Excellent. So that should put us into a perfect inclination to encounter Kerbin, or perfect-ish. It's going to be close enough. And then from here, the question is, when do we want to do this burn, right? Well, I think mission number 1 is a circularization from here, so we don't encounter Duna accidentally. So that would be somewhere around here or so. And that'll encapsulate the Kerbin orbit and make it a little bit easier to find ourselves an encounter. And we're going to have to burn off this speed at some point anyway. So we might as well do it now. Let's align ourselves to that burn. And this burn is definitely going to utilize our remaining fuel in our side tanks. No doubt about that. And we'll have to see how much fuel we've got here. I'm wondering, we shouldn't be pulling from this tank yet, right? Let's double check that. And we shouldn't be pulling from it at all, I think, by default. So obviously these tanks we should be pulling from, and we are. But yeah, this is currently full, this is currently full, and these are the tanks we're going to be running off of. Okay, so that's fine. We've got 347 days till this burn. Let's warp. Excellent. So now we've got about 4 hours. We're going to continue to auto warp here. There we go. About 2.5 minutes. That's much better. And we've got about 40 seconds. 30, 20, 10, and we're burning. So we're going to run out of fuel on these side tanks very, very swiftly. And then we're going to ditch them. And off we go. Fantastic. So now we're down to just our core tank, and we can see we've got like 4,000 meters per second here. That's more than enough to get us home. Way more than enough. This'll be fine. Our gimbaling here is still a little bit over gimbaled, it seems, so I'm going to limit this gimbal down to like 50%. Even that seems a little bit much. Let's put it at like 25. Much better. Okay, so that looks solid, and now I do want to be pulling fuel out of this nose cone first. So let's go into our resource manager here, into our methalox tanks, and let's just pull out all of this fuel. We should have enough capacity to do that right now. There we go. So now this is the fuel we've got, which is like 5 kilometers per second. More than enough. And engine shut down about now. This is fine. This is definitely not accurate here, but let's take a look at our actual orbit. This should be fairly circular. It's reasonably circular. We can do something like that, but that's fine. Okay, from here the question is, where do we want to go for an encounter with Kerbin? So if we went around to about, well, if we went to here, let's try it on quadrants. Let's see what this is going to end up looking like. So we pull this on down, and that gives us, well, I'm not actually seeing an encounter right now. Maybe a little closer? Yeah, that's reasonably close. I don't want any normal there. Let's get rid of that, and let's try it around here or so. So a retrograde burn to about here puts us at that. Again, that's fairly close, but we need to move it on around. Right about here or so. Okay, now we can look at dialing that in. So let's see what that ends up looking like. Ooh, that's a pretty decent encounter as it is. I mean, we do need to bring it in a little bit. No doubt about that. But that is pretty good. So we want to come out over here. And which direction do we want to end up going here? Well, for the moment, we're going to have to zoom out so we can kind of see. Okay, we want to be going prograde here. And we're just going to continue to dial this in. 2,000 kilometers. Okay, this is like 170. And we're going to, that's a collision course. A little bit less than that. That puts us at 14 kilometers. I think that's a little too close. But 35 is not bad. We'll call that decent. And that should be enough to capture us, I think. But a radial retrograde burn would definitely not be a problem here. We've got more than enough fuel to do it, so I don't think that's an issue. Let's get ourselves oriented for this burn. That'll be in 313 days. And let's just warp on forward to that. Excellent. So around we go. Obviously, our liftoff time was not ideal for a transfer window, but it rarely is. So that's okay. We've got about 4 more hours to warp here. Now about 3 minutes. Cool. So 1 minute and about 20 seconds. 10 and 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Okay. So at this point, we want to hit this orbit fairly accurately, but we're going to fine-tune it with a radial retrograde burn on the way in, so it doesn't need to be perfect here. But we'll just be in position here. This is definitely quite a lot of orbital energy, no doubt about that, but a radial retrograde burn will deal with that. We're also going to be coming in on this side, which should be okay. I think that'll be a retrograde side, but I'm not too concerned about that. Aerobraking should do more than enough. We're going to have very little weight at that point, so that seems absolutely fine. We've got about 30 seconds left on this burn, and I'm going to warp through some of that. 20 seconds, 10, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So this is where we're at right now, 610 kilometers. That's very sensitive. And let's just try to tune that in a little bit. 45 kilometers, good enough. As I said, we're going to tune that with a radial retrograde burn. So we're going to be coming in on this side, actually, aren't we? We're going to be coming this direction. Yeah, that's the way that this is indicating. So we're going to be coming in here and going out here. That's fine. We should have enough to aero capture in terms of drag, but I'm not going to rely on that. We're just going to head up over here. We've had quite enough aero capture in this mission. Thank you very much. So we're going to warp up over to here, and I want to continue to warp in a little closer. Excellent. We can probably see Kerbin from here. Not sure exactly where it would be, but it's probably visible somewhere. We could figure it out, but that sounds like work. So I'm going to end up warping to about right here, which is where that encounter starts in 2 days. Perfect. So we're going to build up a lot of speed on the way down, right? No doubt about that, and we're going to do a radial retrograde burn to ensure that we get a reasonable capture here, and we definitely need to clean up some of this debris. No doubt about that. Let's come in to about here for that radial retrograde, and we'll create a maneuver plan. This is going to be retrograde here, and then we'll need to tune up this periapsis. So that's fine. And we'll just be targeting the periapsis being somewhere around, and this is pretty decent here, somewhere around maybe like 20 kilometers would be fine. Yeah, this looks good. So this is going to put us at an apoapsis of 79 and a periapsis of 20. That is absolutely a capture. No problem whatsoever. We've still got a lot of fuel after this, too. We've still got like 3 kilometers per second after this. So no problem as far as the fuel expenditure goes. It'll be interesting to know how fast we'll be going when we get down there. We're in a hyperbolic orbit right now, and that'll certainly be interesting. Okay, so we are in position for that radial retrograde burn, and we're going to warp our way on down. Okay. So this is going to be in about 22 minutes. Interesting. We're not going all that fast right now. Okay, fair enough. So this is going to be in about 40 seconds. Our current altitude is 160 kilometers. That's fine. It's going to be roughly a 2-minute radial retrograde burn. I'll probably warp through some of that. Orbital velocity is reasonably high, but it's not terrible. We've definitely had higher velocities than that before. So we've got about 20 seconds until this burn starts, and let's warp forward a little bit. Now about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Okay. And let's bring that on down. So we're going to be bringing up our periapsis in the first portion of this burn. It's not going to start going down until the second portion, but of course we want to target having that periapsis being right at about that 20-kilometer mark, and then we're going to throw away this fuel. It's absolutely fine to do so, assuming we have a heat shield here. We do have a heat shield. Okay, just wanted to double check that. We didn't use the heat shield on Duna because the atmosphere is so thin, we really don't need a heat shield. Although it would have probably given us a fair amount of extra drag to use one. If we were really smart, we probably would have, but that doesn't happen around here. So we're going to be entering the atmosphere reasonably soon here. But we're going to be continuing this burn for another minute. And the periapsis is currently 1 minute and 54 away. That's fine. 55-kilometer periapsis, absolutely okay. We're not going to be coming back from this burn. Like, we are absolutely committed here to re-entry. Is this going to be a night re-entry? It definitely is. Not necessarily. Our periapsis is going to be up over here. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, we've got the sun coming up. Beautiful. So we've got about 35 seconds left in this burn. We are going to start seeing this periapsis going down very soon. We're also going to start hitting the atmosphere very shortly. And we've got a fair amount of orbital speed right now. We should probably retract our solar panels because we are about to enter the atmosphere. And we're just going to continue burning in this attitude until the periapsis is at that 20-kilometer mark. So that'll be perfect. 10 seconds left in the burn, in theory. 50 kilometers on the periapsis. We are in the atmosphere as of now. And engine shutdown. Beautiful. So now I'm going to throw away all of this fuel. 3,164 meters per second. I don't like doing it, but it's got to go. So away it goes. That is, of course, going to... I mean, in reality, it would burn up in the atmosphere. In KSP2, I expect it to crash and be destroyed. But that's fine. We want to head on over to retrograde for sure. Okay, so now our electric charge has to hold until we hit the ground. But let's just warp on through here a bit. And the sun is, of course, coming up. We're passing over the Terminator right now. So that looks very, very solid. We're still very high up in the atmosphere right now, but we are not coming back. Our periapsis is already dropped to 10 kilometers. So this is looking fine. Our apoapsis is fine as well. We're barely at orbital velocity, but our orbit is skewed, and so this is not going to be a thing. We're not going to escape the atmosphere. We can see that our orbital velocity is reducing. I want to go over to surface, and our surface velocity is reducing as well. We're not at our periapsis yet. Look at how much more powerful the Kerbin atmosphere is at aerobraking than Duna. Now, to be clear, we've got a heat shield, which adds a lot of drag, and this is a lot less mass than we were trying to aerobrake with the Dunan atmosphere. Those are absolutely fair points. 100%, that is true. But also... the Kerbin atmosphere is way, way thicker. So that is wonderful. And we're going to be coming on down fairly quickly here. This Duna mission, at long last, is over. And we're going to look to clean up some more of these science mode missions. A lot of them are pretty simple. There's one of them that looks particularly challenging. And that's land and return with 10 Kerbals from Eve. That one's going to be challenging. Like, I looked it up, and it's, like, the rule of thumb is it's 7 kilometers per second to go from stationary on Eve to Eve orbit. So there's that. And we're going to want a little more than that. So that's going to be a complicated mission to plan. No doubt about it. Our speed is dropping nicely. We're down to about 800 meters per second here. Oh, that was some interesting lighting there. Exciting. 500 meters per second. What is our terminal velocity in this? Well, we're probably not going to find out because it's time for the drogues. Hang on, they didn't go? There we go. Perfect. And then we're going to, I mean, honestly, we could follow that immediately with the mains. These are going to open far earlier than we actually want them to because they're tuned for Duna. So I'm going to wait to deploy the mains until we're a little lower. I'm going to deploy the mains at a ground altitude of like 2 kilometers. They should basically instantly open, and there should be no problem with that, in theory. So even with just the drogues, we're moving at lower speed than we were coming down on Duna. With just the drogues. I like it. So I'm not going to open the mains for a little bit. We're going to coast down on the drogues. We're at 3 kilometers right now, and it's going to take us a bit. We absolutely don't want the mains to be open at this juncture. Okay, we're 2 kilometers up right now. I'm actually going to wait until 1 kilometer. So 1,800 meters, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, and we are at 1 kilometer as of now. Okay, so there's the mains out. They deploy basically instantly and bring us down to about... Yeah, this is really slow. I am very glad I waited until 1 kilometer. We could have gotten it probably at about 400 meters, to be honest, but that would have been pushing it. But I'm very glad that we didn't deploy these at like 30 kilometers. That would have been a very long, slow drift to the ground. Fantastic. These are, of course, tuned for the Duna atmosphere and just giving us maximum drag, and we really didn't need that here in Kerbin. So we've still got about 400 meters to go. It's still going to be a fairly slow drift to the ground. I want to be clear about that. But even so, this is absolutely fine. We are delighted to have this mission in the history books. Because that was a lot of aerobrake passes. No doubt about it. We're not going to have to do that again, though, and that is phenomenal. The question is, what mission do we want to take on next? Do we want to take on the Eve mission? We lack simulation tools in KSP2 that I would usually use on a mission like the Eve mission to basically ensure that we're going to succeed on the first go. So we're going to have a lot of redundancies, a lot of contingencies. It's going to be interesting, for sure. Well, down we come here. This is an absolutely safe velocity to land at. And perfect. So we are recoverable, and we will do so. Excellent. We didn't crash. Indeed. Vessel destroyed. I believe that that's the component that we jettisoned upon entry to the atmosphere. So we'll go back to the KSC. That mission is over, and we'll start working on another mission. I'm not sure which one yet. Next episode. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Andy McGar, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Tommy, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.